Don in London, hello. December 19th. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My addictive substance, alcohol, could have been anything. My behaviour, equally addictive in terms of people, places and things. Trying to be perfect, trying to be the best worker, the best lover, the best anything, because that's what I thought I ought to be the best I could. And sometimes we take that to ridiculous lengths. We become self-obsessed and striving not only to be the best we can, but beyond, so that we look the best in other people's eyes too. And that's where often the difficulty or malady of addiction manifests, is feeling like we're not good enough, we need to do better, we're not being paid attention to, and we need more attention. Something is lacking, and it generates fear inside us, putting on a brave face, and generally makes our ego very thin, and there's nothing to back it up. So we get very harsh in terms of self-criticism, self-prejudice, and then self-harm through trying to feel okay, take the edge off. And that's what I did often with drink. I kept on taking the edge off so long, there was nothing left inside, what we call spiritual bankruptcy, and that is the inability to cope with reality, bankrupt, not able to cope at all, and stuck in an addiction. And as I say, it could be any substance, any behaviour, or any combination. So these days, having got to a place of sobriety one day at a time, I try and maintain my sobriety one day at a time too. And the impact is that I am part of family, community, society again. I don't run it, I'm a part of it. I live and have my life. Freedom of choice based on my life experience right now. And that's far better than trying to strive for something in the future. Although we all have aims and goals in life, to live another day, to improve our career, but it's improvement, not infatuation with the future. When I get there, I'll be happy. I guess the basic understanding for me is to be happy in the day with endeavour, endeavouring as I may, with whatever goals I have, and that I've done enough to be on the right path. So part of the right path for me is being a part of a fellowship, and that fellowship is AA. I don't represent AA, nor do I speak for anybody else in AA. People speak where they will about their recovery, and it is always the many voices in recovery and the actions we take, the many voices and the many actions of many people, which keep the fellowship going and make sobriety possible one day at a time for many people. And there are other ways to be sober. I haven't found them yet. Not in the sense of being completely okay with the one moment I live in, this one. So fellowship has actually become a very strong part of my life. So if I can stay sober, lean on the many voices and many people in AA to keep sober, then I'm sort of right-sized and able to get on with life. So my voice is not enough. It's just me speaking about how fellowship helps me on a daily basis, and it forms part of my daily reflections. And yes, AA, the people in AA at the time saved my life. Some of those people are the same people today, and there have been many people who have perished along the way for one reason or another, more often natural causes than going back to drink. But it's true, if I don't look after myself on a daily basis, I'm going to be in trouble. So fellowship helps me every day. So this is part of my service, if you like, to try and share a message. But I share about AA as well because it has so much going for it. I don't promote it. What you see is what you get on the day when you go to a fellowship meeting, and the people you meet, just human beings getting on with life. Sober first, so the rest of life can happen, so we can be part of family, community and society. Altruistic, yes, and also realistic for me. So what is AA? I will share the AA preamble here, and it goes like this. And the reason why I share it is, there might be a newcomer out there, but it also means something to me on a daily basis to remind me where my roots are. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. Now that sounds like a tall order. If you like, you try to do all of that in one day. And you can't do it all in one day, so we just do what we can, one day at a time, to help life work for ourselves and other people. And one of the things I do here is share from this book, Daily Reflections, and it covers the 12-step program for individuals, how to be open, honest and willing to live life truthfully a day at a time. That's the 12 steps of AA, practicing these principles from the 12 steps in real life. And the 12 traditions, which are about the fellowship in terms of unity, service and recovery, and helping the fellowship stay afloat, so that there is always a place to go for people new to recovery and people who have been decades sober. We are all in the same boat on the same day. So whilst we're in a meeting, maybe one person is brand new to sobriety, first meeting still drunk, I was, and then trying to make sense of what's going on. So it's always, we're always in the same moment, in the same day, whether we're moments from a drink or decades from a drink. And we share experience, strength and hope. That's how it works. That's simple. And that complicated, because we're complicated mechanisms. Anyway, the daily reflection for today, December the 19th, it says, understanding the malady. When dealing with an alcoholic, there may be natural annoyance that a man could be so weak, stupid and irresponsible. Even when you understand the malady better, you may feel this feeling rising. And how was it that I was weak, stupid and irresponsible? Because I kept on drinking. And the answer was I couldn't stop, and I didn't realise I really had a malady. And addiction is the disease of denial. We don't believe we've got it, even if we have got it, because we think we can try again. Self-will, willpower to try and get out of it. And as I emphasise always, it's the many in fellowship we lean on to keep sober. So one person leans on many people rather than one person and pull them down. It goes on to say, having suffered from alcoholism, I should understand the illness, but sometimes I feel annoyance, even contempt, toward a person who cannot make it in AA. When I feel that way, I am satisfying my false sense of superiority, and I must remember that for the grace of God, there go I. And no matter what your understanding of God may be, mine's a very rudimentary one, but I can't fault it. God is truth, God is love, God is wisdom, and the wisdom comes from other people most often to reinforce whatever I've learned so far. So I don't get a false sense of superiority, I hope, but if I did, I hope I would knock it out of myself fairly quickly, because I can't do it on my own, and I need the wisdom of other people and the support and encouragement on a daily basis. So that's the daily reflection for today, and I'll say the Serenity Prayer in a moment, and then I'm going to talk a bit about other stuff in the 12 steps and 12 traditions. So this can be a natural turning off point if you haven't already. But the Serenity Prayer for me, no matter what I believed in the past, and I have been an atheist, agnostic and a believer, depending on my life experience, which is quite sensible actually, because we need to make sense of it all. But ultimately, good conscience is connected to something, otherwise humanity wouldn't be here at all. But bad things happen to good people, and they can all turn out quite unpleasant, or pleasant, depending on life and what's happening. But the concept of God, for me, truth, love, wisdom, the truth, not my opinion, or my opinion about the truth, love, a constant, which is in all of us. Either we have it or we don't, or we're, yes, better having love in our lives, to love, be loved and love back. And wisdom, which we get from other people and their life experiences, so we can enrich our understanding of life. So truth, love and wisdom, good conscience, or God, as you choose to believe. And it must be your understanding, not joining in for the sake of it. It's about how you develop your understanding over time about what is God, what is good conscience. But this serenity prayer, it does work. It's the can and cannot do of life. So to God or good conscience, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference is for me just for today. And now more about the 12 steps. And I'm going to look at the 12 and 12. This is the fairly large copy. And the 12th step is all about sharing a message with other people, which I do. But also the 12th tradition is really important too. The spiritual foundation of the program is anonymity, and anonymity affords sanctuary for people to find out what the truth is, get rid of the shame, guilt and horror, and break through into courage, faith and confidence in living again. But on page 115, about step 12, it says this: but in the longer run we clearly realise that these are only growing pains, and that nothing good can come from them if we turn more and more to the entire 12 steps for answers. Now comes the biggest question yet. What about the practice of these principles in all our affairs? Can we love the whole pattern of living as eagerly as we do the small segment of it we discover when we try to help other alcoholics achieve sobriety? Can we bring the same spirit of love and tolerance into our sometimes deranged family lives that we bring to our AA group? In other words, we might find serenity in a meeting. We have to go home and live these principles in all our affairs. Can we have the same kind of confidence and faith in these people who have been infected and sometimes crippled by our own illness that we have in our own sponsors? Can we actually carry the AA spirit into our daily work? Can we meet our newly recognised responsibilities to the world at large? And can we bring new purpose and devotion to the religion of our choice, or no religion? You can have a devotion around just being yourself and letting others be themselves around you. Can we find joy, a new joy of living, in trying to do something about all these things? Furthermore, how shall we come to terms with seeming failure or success? Can we now accept and adjust to either without despair or pride? So how do we deal with failure in recovery? Do we pick ourselves up and start all over again? Do we pick ourselves up, realise the consequences of what we've done so far don't work, and try a new pattern of living? And don't forget, success is one day long often, or in the moment of making the right decision. Can we accept poverty, sickness, loneliness and bereavement with courage and serenity? Can we steadfastly content ourselves with the humbler, yet sometimes more durable satisfactions when the brighter, more glittering achievements are denied us? And I was thinking about this today. We've just had a major competition on the television, and I enjoyed it thoroughly in many ways. It was a dancing competition called Strictly Come Dancing, and it's been running over 3 months, and there's criticism and commentary in the news and press this morning that they didn't dance so well on the last night. Well, if you've been dancing for 3 months and you've absolutely exhausted every ounce of your energy, is it not surprising that if you take it one step too far, there will be injury and problems? And this applies to how we drank, or for me, and there's no analogy actually, but what I'm saying is often those who shine brightest for shortest periods of time find the crunch is when that brightness is starting to go dark and people forget. But we don't forget inside what's going on. And The disease of denial can come in many forms, and many people in the spotlight of popularity do find solace in drinking and drugging. And why is that? Because the natural high of all that energy cannot be sustained, and when the downside happens, the illness, the sickness, the hard times, how do we cope with those? And cope with depression. Well, I didn't cope very well, which is why I drank. And that is why a lot of people have to take the edge off when all that energy and brightness is gone. And when we have the dull edge of reality. Well, I don't see it that way these days, but that's because I'm not depressed right now. I do suffer from clinical depression, and I go through waves of it. So I know what it's like in the darkness. And it's desperate and desolate, and many people call it black dog. Churchill called it black dog. It's like something on your shoulders pushing you down all the time. Uneasiness. Well, I go to fellowship meetings and do not sit alone in isolation. So hard times is part of recovery, and consequences of brightness is darkness. We can't have one without the other. So what is fellowship doing for me? It's providing a safer path with deeper meaning, rather than a broader path with no meaning at all. So I tend not to be a jack of all trades these days, nor a particular master of one, but to experience things more deeply on a daily basis, good or bad. Don't brush away the badness, because it's going to come back and haunt me at some time, or lead to relapse into a very dark set of emotions, which could lead to a physical relapse and drink. I don't want that. I don't need it, and I don't want it. So my view these days is keep it simple. Good or bad, face reality, life on life's terms, and sometimes it's so tough it's unbelievable. Like 6 months at home with a broken foot. Rest it or lose it was the advice, and I did. It taught me a lot about what is the difference between isolation and solitude. And actually I enjoyed a lot of the solitude, and enjoyed living in one place rather than dashing around trying to be whatever I thought I ought to be. Sometimes it's good to stand still, take a breath. So 12 steps, they do work. 12-step work works if we work at it. It doesn't mean we're going to be successful all the time. And the malady of alcoholism will always tell me that I don't have the disease eventually, if I'm not careful, and I don't keep good company enough. So that serenity prayer again to God or good conscience. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the good and bad of life. Courage to change the things I can, me and my attitudes. And the wisdom to know the difference comes from other people often, and is always in the moment and just for today. DonInLondon, hello, it's December 19th, 2009. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour, or both. And in my case, my substance was alcohol. My behaviour, easily cross-addicted into work, relationships, collecting, materialism, looking right, putting on a brave face, utilising my ego to cover up my fear. And we can be addicted to fear, because that's all we know, and it grows and grows and grows, and the only way to damp it down often is to fix it, because we don't know any other way. So unfortunately none of us come with an instruction book on how to live life, and neither does anybody else. So if we don't come with an instruction book, and people make mistakes or find themselves in dilemmas, what do? If we're lucky, we learn how to deal with those things, problems, situations, people, places, things, and make sense of them. Or we suppress and push things down inside us so we don't have to think about them. And that's where the brave face comes in. The fear grows, and it keeps on growing the more we push it down. And when we try stop fixing ourselves with, say, alcohol or behaviour, people, places, things, relationships, work, you name it, then the fear hits us like a panic attack and anxiety follows. So what do? We repeat the same old patterns of behaviour. Drink more, work harder, more relationships, more things, more material fulfilment, if you like. And still there is an emptiness inside us we just don't know what to do with. So why is that relevant to me? Because I did all of those things. And from dependency to addiction is not such a far stretch for anyone who doesn't know what's in the instruction book, because we don't have it. So these days I've got a bit of an idea how to live my life one day at a time, and to be sober and to try and find balance in the moment of now. And what helps me keep in recovery one day at a time, never recovered, because I can go back to the malady. It's only an arm's length away often, and it's so easy to go backwards as it is to go forwards. So I need encouragement on a daily basis, and I get that from family, friends, community, professionals, and a fellowship. And it's a fellowship which is probably familiar to many. That's Alcoholics Anonymous. And the problem is, with AA, it's an admission that we are an alcoholic if we start to go. And then we need to find acceptance around what is our condition. That's recovery, hopefully. But if we're in the malady, the fear and everything else is still with us. And we are very, very difficult people to deal with, especially because we don't know how to sort ourselves out. So the Fellowship of AA helped me sort out how to live one day at a time, and do that in a unique, authentic way. Because all the people I've met in AA so far, and that's, I don't know how many, tens of thousands probably, all are unique and authentic people on a unique, authentic path of living. And what helps us is a fellowship, understanding where we're coming from, how to be ourselves. And that's very difficult because life challenges everything on a daily basis. So we need to keep on learning. And that was the thing I didn't realise. I thought if I passed the exam of being right in the eyes of others and being right when I looked in the mirror, then maybe everything would be all right. So my outlook and my appearance seemed to be okay, I guess, to me. And I felt that other people felt the same way. So for many years, 35 years of drinking, I was covering up fear. And it's easy to admit now, but if you had asked me to admit that 10 years ago, I would have told you where to go in no uncertain manner. So these days, getting a bit of courage, faith and confidence to face the day is what the Fellowship of AA does for me. And I'll share the AA preamble here because it slows me down into the moment of now and reminds me of where I am today. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is the desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. Does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And the two sentences which always get me, the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. It's a desire, and it's a feeling that drinking is not for us anymore. And then it says our primary purpose at the end is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And there are 12 steps of action along the way to change attitude and behaviour. And all 12 steps need to be understood and lived in order to do life in the moment of now. And it took me a long while to realise that I could think I knew how to live life. All those 35 years my thinking was dominant and my feelings were suppressed. And these days I acknowledge my feelings as they are happening, and then put some thinking into it to see how I may respond to what is going on around me. So I've turned it around. My best thinking got me drinking and kept me so. And self-will, this thing of mastery of our own universe and everything around us, that we are completely omnipotent, well, that had to be smashed, because thinking and self-will failed. What's working now is understanding my feelings as they are happening and what to do about them, and to do it in a thinking manner. So feelings come first in my understanding of how my perception works, and then I can consider with my thinking what to do. So excuse me, if I have a thought about drinking, if I have a feeling of needing a drink, and that is to take the edge off and try and feel convivial, my thinking tells me it's not such a good idea these days. And that might seem like a very simple proposition, but you know what, we always put things the wrong way round. We think we know what's going on, and then we will it so. And that can actually be quite dangerous, especially in cognitive behavioural therapy, which considers that we are able to use our willpower always to master what is going on around us. So emotional understanding is what the fellowship gives me. It's an emotional, spiritual and physical process of living life, living in the moment of now. And it's so easy to go off beam. So why is this important? I went to a meeting last night, and you know, somebody said feelings aren't real and we can think our way out. Well, actually feelings are very real. That's our first part of the process of dealing with everything we encounter through our senses. It's a feeling, and then thinking follows. So if we make the mistake of putting thinking first, we suppress yet again all those feelings that we're trying to sort out. So anyway, that's a bit about that, and I share a daily reading here from the Daily Reflections, and December's all about sharing a message, and it says for December the 19th, understanding the malady. When dealing with an alcoholic, there may be a natural annoyance that a man should be so weak, or could be so weak, stupid and irresponsible. Even when you understand the malady better, you may feel this feeling arising. Having suffered from alcoholism, I should understand the illness, but sometimes I feel annoyance, even contempt, toward a person who cannot make it to AA. When I feel that way, I am satisfying my false sense of superiority, and I must remember that for the grace of God there go I, or good conscience, in fact. It's a feeling, good conscience. Anyway, to acceptance, there's a serenity prayer which helps with the can-do and can't-do of life, and it's either to God or good conscience. God, grant me the serenity to accept things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference is, for me, just for today.